What a dramatic Week 7 in college football it was, capped off, of course, by that Alabama-Georgia game. I'm Wendy Nix with Joey Galloway and Greg McElroy here as well. We will start with that showdown in the SEC. Number 2 Alabama faced the toughest defense they'd seen in the third-ranked Georgia Bulldogs, but Mac Jones passed for over 400 yards and 4 touchdowns as the Tide's talented trio of receivers could not be stopped. A 41-24 win. Here's Nick Saban.
Well, this was an obvious, great win against a very, very good football team. I was really proud of the way our guys fought in the game. Kind of knew it was going to be sort of a 15-round fight, and we probably wouldn't be winning the fight until the later rounds.
Quarterback, I thought, played really well. They've got great skill players. We knew that coming in. We were able to contain them a little bit early. Thought we had some big stops in the red area in the first half, and then second half we couldn't do it. We didn't stop them.
Well, Greg, the good news, Nick Saban able to coach in that game. He was on the sidelines after a false positive with regards to COVID. In the end, he fired up his team. That second half was impressive. What's your biggest takeaway for the Tide?
It's just amazing to see how this team transitioned into the current air raid style of attack, because this was a group that was ground and pound traditionally forever. Now you look at how they stretched the field vertically in the passing game, and I'm not really sure how you can defend what they're currently throwing at them. Let's take a look at some of the things that they were able to do this past weekend. How about protection first and foremost? That's where it starts. Corner blitz off the right-hand side. And you get an opportunity to get John Mechie in one-on-one against a flat-footed safety on a double move. Mac Jones has plenty of time, great pocket, great integrity in the pocket, and he delivers an absolute strike down the field, in stride, perfect ball, 10 out of 10, strike out the fight song. And then these switch release concepts that are so difficult to handle. You show with a little bit of a fake, looked like he was going to kind of stock block because it looked like he might throw the swing route to the right-hand side. No, instead he works over the top. The outside receiver takes 2, and you have a one-on-one situation for the touchdown. Similar look here with that same type of cross-face alignment. This time, they see that there's one-on-one on the outside yet again as the safety collapses inside. Mac Jones recognizes it, sees nothing but green grass down the field, and throws a deep ball that's just slightly inside but still on the money, leading to yet another massive touchdown. This team could do whatever they wanted in the passing game yet again against one of the best defenses in America. And if this is a sign of things to come, Joey, I really don't know how you slow this offense down.
It's interesting when you watch this Alabama offense. Typically speaking, when you say to a defense you have to pick your poison, it's between stopping the run or stopping the pass. But they're so talented on offense, you have to pick between stopping the run or stopping the pass with 3 receivers that can beat you from anywhere. But when I watched this game and then went back and watched it again on tape, Georgia's still the 3rd best team in the country. I'm not a big, they have a loss versus maybe a BYU or Oklahoma State or Notre Dame that doesn't have a loss being better than them. I honestly don't know that Notre Dame or Oklahoma State or BYU, one of these other teams, would score against this Georgia defense. Although they gave up points against Alabama, which anybody's going to give up points to that offense, they are so talented on the defensive side of the ball that I don't know who else is scoring those kind of points on them. And although Bennett did not have a great game, when you watch the film, there were some things left out there that I guarantee you, if they played that again and Bennett came in with a different mindset and didn't think, let me go down the field as much as let me take some of this underneath stuff, go underneath, get some first downs, move the chains, and then sort of just get into the game. Didn't do that, but I still looked at this Georgia team and said, that is definitely the 3rd best team in the country.
Joey, that's a great thing about college football. Of course, anything can happen on any given weekend. And that brings us to this. We'll take a look at our college football rankings brought to you by Allstate. Things stay solid at the top. Clemson and Alabama still lead the way at 1 and 2. But Notre Dame, you talked about this, has crept up to the 3rd spot with Georgia's loss last week. Ohio State rounds out the top 5, and they, of course, will play their first game of the season on Saturday. With the Big Ten set to open its season this weekend, Purdue coach Jeff Brom has announced he tested positive for COVID-19 and will not be on the sidelines for Saturday's season opener at home against Iowa. Brom was asked how confident he is in the Big Ten's plan, that is, to play 8 games in 8 weeks.
Actually, I'm very confident. This has been unfortunate. We've had good results. The daily testing, I think, our players, we've had great success rate on that. Unfortunately, it got me, and it's something that we're going to have to deal with. But, there are going to be a few things flare up here and there. But I do think as far as testing our guys daily, having the best medical procedures in college football set up for our guys in order to play football, I think we're doing about as good as anybody right now in that. So I feel confident, and I applaud the Big Ten for the ability to get this daily testing going.
Greg, look, you've seen what's transpired in the SEC over the past 8 weeks. There's no wiggle room here. So, 8 games in 8 weeks is tricky in the current climate. How confident are you?
Not very, especially knowing the challenges that the Big Ten has to overcome in regards to contact tracing. When you look at what they've implemented, it's more strict as far as their protocols than any other league that's currently trying to play football. They're asking for a 21-day quarantine for anyone that comes in contact with someone that might have contracted the virus. That coupled with daily testing, meaning they're going to have more positives. So I am not real convinced at this moment they're going to be able to get through an 8-game slate in 8 weeks without significant issues throughout that time frame. So that's why I think that we need to really look internally at our system in crowning a national champion. If for whatever reason the Big Ten only plays 4 or 5 games, or one team within the Big Ten only plays 4 or 5 games, they should still be able to win a national championship. So that's why I'm saying for a 1 year, Joey, let's expand the playoff to 6 teams. Give me the 5 Power 5 conference champions with 1 wild card. Maybe that wild card's BYU. And let's tee it up in the postseason the best way we know how. We've seen it happen in other leagues, and it's been successful. It's not something I've usually encouraged, but I am, however, pushing for an expansion just for this year because I think it's going to be really hard for the Pac-12 and the Big Ten to get through this thing unscathed.
I'd be very surprised if they could pull it off. And we've seen every other league who's been playing have to postpone games, have to cancel games. Some teams have only played a couple times. That's part of the equation. I don't know that expanding the playoff remedies that. I think more so the committee has to come out and say, look, if this team in whatever league it may be, say they get in 5 games, and if the committee can look at those 5 and say, we believe from our data, from watching tape, from seeing this team play, if we do believe that they are part of the top 4 teams in the country, then they should get into the playoff. And I don't really care how many games they play. If they did expand, I would also be okay with that because that's just more fun for us, Greg, at the end of the season when we get to go talk about the playoff and get to go talk about these games. The more, the merrier. But I don't think that remedy because we are definitely going to see some games moved. It's happened to every single league. This past weekend, there weren't many Big 12 games to watch on TV because there's of the suspensions and moving games, those kind of things. So we're going to see what happens, but believe me, they're going to try their best, and I hope that it works out.
I think it will, Joey. I really feel good about it. I think the likelihood of us finding a solution. Look, Pac-12 and Larry Scott has already been outspoken about, hey, we need to expand the playoff for this 1 year. It happened in baseball. Baseball was willing to expand. Baseball doesn't change for anybody, by the way. And MLB was willing to find common ground and say, look, this is a unique circumstance. There's still too many teams that are pushing towards the playoff berth. So I think expanding just this 1 year would be a positive thing for college football.
You're 100% right about baseball. There's no question about that, Greg. Keep in mind, though, in the Big Ten, they've got a 21-day quarantine. That's 7 days longer than the other conferences. It's going to be tricky, 8 games in 8 weeks, but it all starts on Friday when Wisconsin hosts Illinois. It's the first Big Ten game of the season. Saturday, the rest of the teams will play, including that highly anticipated matchup between number 18 Michigan and number 21 Minnesota. Still to come, meet perhaps the most interesting man in Maryland, head college coach, NFL game analyst, and social media personality. Terrapins head coach Mike Locksley joins us next. Ready or not, here they come. On August 11th, the Big Ten decided to postpone the fall football season. But then a bit over a month later, the presidents and chancellors met and talked about reversing course. 3 days later, they announced the Big Ten's return the weekend of October 24th. Joining us now, the second-year head coach of the Maryland Terrapins, Coach Mike Locksley. And Coach, tell me about the range of emotions from this summer when the season was canceled to a few days now when we hope the season begins for the Big Ten.
Yeah, a lot like a roller coaster ride, Wendy. As you said, we've gone up and down and stopped and started, and now I'm just flat out antsy. Hoping and praying that these next couple of days of testing go well for the Terps, and we're able to get on the road to Chicago to go play a formidable opponent in Northwestern.
Well, speaking of COVID, during that time, did a show on Instagram Live called Late Night with Locks. And the guest list is interesting. Who was your favorite guest, or what's your favorite memory from that show?
Yeah, for me, the big thing was trying to take my mind and hopefully show the power of the Maryland brand with the amount of people that really follow the Maryland football brand, followed myself as the head coach. I'd say, as my wife put it, I was fanboy on 2 occasions. One, when my boxing idol, a DMV native, Sugar Ray Leonard, I convinced him to come on my show. And then the last was when Cal Ripken, Mr. Iron Man, came on my show. And these are 2 DMV legends that I grew up watching and worshiping as a kid and as an adult. And as my wife said, she said, I wish you still looked at me like you looked at those 2 when you were interviewing them. And kind of embarrassed me.
Hey, we've all been there. I get it. Speaking of mentors or people you've learned from and watched, you served as the offensive coordinator at Alabama under Nick Saban. Coach, what'd you learn from Coach Saban?
Man, we need a whole show on it. I took the job there as an off-the-field analyst with the hopes of just getting behind the curtain of a great program and finding out how it was constructed and the why they've been able to sustain success. And, I left there with 3 years of notebooks completely full of experiences, processes, structure, just everything. I think the biggest thing I learned from just being around Coach Saban, the 3 years I was able to be around him, was just how consistent he was with his day-to-day preparation. And, not a lot of things change on a day-to-day basis with him, but his attention to the detail and how he quality controlled every aspect of that program was just phenomenal. And those are some of the lasting memories and things that I've tried to take from there and implement as I start to build this Maryland program.
Speaking of the tag, Coach, it's Tua time in Miami. The Dolphins, according to Adam Schefter, plan to have Tua Tagovailoa become their starting quarterback. How closely are you following his pro career? He was your quarterback, of course, at Alabama.
Yeah, and the fact that we have Leah, his younger brother, here playing for us at Maryland. I talk to Tua probably once or twice a week via text or FaceTime. And, I know for him, he's a competitor, but he has a lot of faith and belief in the Dolphin organization and how they are approaching playing him. Obviously, it's great news for him and his family that he's been named the starter. I know this, having spoken with him at length. He has the utmost respect for Ryan Fitzpatrick, the quarterback down there at Miami that has been so integral in his development. And typically that's not the case when you look at competition, but I know that every time I've spoken with him, he's been really complimentary of Fitz and the type of leader and mentor he's been for him as well.
That really is a great quarterback room all the way around. You referenced Northwestern. Maryland season kicks off hopefully on Saturday against Northwestern. But when you look at year 2 of this program, at least under your tutelage, what will define a successful season, Coach?
As I told our team, our success will be defined by how disciplined we are as a program, and not just on the field, because obviously to win on the field, the things you need to do from habits and behavior standpoint are not beat yourself. But I think also off the field, these players, these 18 to 22-year-olds have had to make behavior adjustments in how they live their life. And so I think the discipline of following the protocols and the things that we need to do to try to mitigate and give us the ability to show up and play are going to be really important, as well as on the field.
Coach, you're absolutely right. It takes a village. That's certainly the case this season. We appreciate it. We'll be watching on Saturday.
Thanks a lot, Wendy.
Straight ahead, we'll stay in the Big Ten. If number 5 Ohio State is the favorite, and they are, who are the Buckeyes' biggest challengers to win the conference? We'll take up the debate straight ahead.
College Football Live is presented by Dr. Pepper, the official drink of Fansville.
This week's Ultimate Performance presented by BMW. Trevor Lawrence, no stranger to awards, even though he's only played through the first drive of the third quarter. He threw for 404 yards and 5 passing touchdowns, making him the second quarterback in Clemson history with 400 passing yards and 5 passing touchdowns in a road conference game. And with the Big Ten opening its season this weekend, we'll have a season opener for you. Saturday, number 21 Minnesota hosts Jim Harbaugh's number 18 Wolverines as they play for the Little Brown Jug. Reese Kirk and the College Game Day crew will also be there, 7:30 Eastern, 4:30 Pacific on ABC and, of course, the ESPN app. And that brings us to the Capital One fan vote. 5th-ranked Ohio State is the favorite, but who are you taking as the Buckeyes' biggest Big Ten challenger? Make sure you go to twitter.com/SportsCenter to check out this week's Capital One fan vote. I will pose the same question to the two of you. Joey, who's the biggest challenger for the Buckeyes?
I think it's the Buckeyes themselves. In past seasons, they didn't play their best, and it's either a close game, maybe an upset. And so they're so talented, and by far the most talented team in the Big Ten. If they play their A game, they won't get beat this season.
Joey, hang on a second. So you're telling me that there's no one that's within striking distance? All right, well, I'll give you not just one, I'll give you two. I think that Penn State is very capable. They catch them early in the season, week 2. I think that's a real possibility they could knock off the upset. And I also think, don't sleep on Wisconsin. Wisconsin now has a new quarterback in the mix in Graham Mertz, who's a 5-star, maybe the highest rated recruit they've had in a long time. So Penn State and Wisconsin, two teams that are capable. Now I'm still picking the Buckeyes. But those are two teams that are capable of potentially pulling off the upset if given the opportunity.
That's funny, Greg. Yeah, like I said. If
So
they
you're
play their
saying
A
there's a
game,
chance.
It doesn't matter. Yeah, exactly.
All right, fair enough. We've got the whiteout in Happy Valley to look forward to, though, nonetheless. All right, one final exercise. Joey, I'll ask you again first. Listen, what other team got your attention? We're now moving along here, week 7 in the rearview mirror.
I like Texas A&M right now. I like that they've become a team that runs the ball well in past seasons. It was up to Kellen Mond to carry this team. They had to throw it. They're more of a finesse team. These past couple weeks, they've become a team that runs the ball well with Isaiah Spiller, and it makes them a multifaceted offense. And if they can continue that, then I like the way this team is playing. And it is scary to think that they have a tough game in Arkansas. Yeah, I said Arkansas this weekend coming up. And so because Arkansas is a better football team, I think it's just going to continue to keep Texas A&M on a path of we're going to run the ball and be physical.
I'm taking Notre Dame, the Golden Domers. I think last week they actually thought that they were Army for a second with the way they controlled the line of scrimmage, the way they controlled time of possession. Y'all, in their game last week against Louisville, they had only seven offensive possessions. You want to talk about shrinking the game? That's one way to do it. And in those 7 offensive possessions, when you go through it, 4 of the 7 were 12 plays or more. And then 3 of the 7 went for more than 7 minutes each, including the game-ending drive where they took the air out of the football with nearly an 8-minute drive to close out the Louisville Cardinals. So Notre Dame thinks they're Army, and if they can shorten the game, they are very intriguing.
So interesting, really, the way the rankings are shaping up. 1 and 2 seem pretty clear. After that, we'll see. I tell you what, we'll also see, finally, the Big Ten is back. The weekend of October 24th, fast approaching. Let's go. We'll start on Friday, but we'll be back tomorrow.